Hi, I'm Maria Thea Harris of Velo Sews on social media. Welcome back to Sew 50 podcast on Sew Organized Style. This is the Top 20 Countdown.
She, meaning the owner of this organization, she just makes it easy. You just ship it to Michigan, and then she ships it out to Africa, not individually. They'll pack a container, the huge container that you see on railroads. They'll pack that, and then everything goes at once. But they also have missionaries who are coming through, who are on their way to Africa, and they'll call ahead and say, I need 6 large or 5 mediums or 3 large or 3 small dresses or whatever they need, and they'll pack that up and give it to them and they can take with them. But the larger deliveries or larger shipments goes on these containers.
This week I'm featuring 2 new episodes of Carrie Cunningham. Her original podcast was listened to over 15,000 times. She's number 3 in the Top 20 Countdown. Carrie asks that I record a new podcast with her, and that's what we've done. In this first episode, I asked Carrie about the community work she told us about in 2020 to see how these works were still happening now. Spoiler alert, both of these community works are going really well with some very thoughtful developments. Here we go with part 1 of Carrie, or Endless Designs by Carrie. Hi everyone, I'm Maria Thea Harris of Velo Sews on social media, and today we're doing a video recording with Carrie Cunningham, who is Endless Designs by Carrie. I originally spoke to Carrie in 2020. She is number 3 on the Top 20 Countdown, and Carrie wanted to do an update rather than you listen to the previous one. So Carrie, thank you for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me again.
Anytime, Carrie, because I know that you're a busy lady and that you're always a really giving person. So for people who didn't listen to the 2020 recording, over 15,000 people downloaded that episode.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's huge for a niche podcast.
That's a lot.
And they were listening to you.
Well, thank you, everyone. All 15,000 of you.
At that time, Carrie, you talked to us about the community work that you do for sewing for orphan girls in Africa, as well as your commitment to the food pantry. Is that still happening?
So that is and will be still happening. Somebody just asked me a few weeks ago about the dresses. When will I stop making them? And I said, never. So it's really a fun thing to do. It started when, I don't remember what year, but I made I think I made 4 dresses for the American Sewing Guild local chapter and dropped them off and kind of kept thinking about it, but not too much. And then over time, I kind of forgot about it. And then we did a meeting sew up, and I ended up in another city, not too far from here, I think about 45 minutes from here. And the leader there asked me to teach them how to make that dress. So I taught, 7 or 8 people how to make the dress. And on my way home, I was kind of kept thinking about, I need to do this on a bigger scale. And so I approached my pastor at church and lead pastor. And of course he said yes, but he didn't do anything. Because that's what lead pastors do. They just say yes, you figure out the rest. So then I went to our administrative pastor and I asked her who gets things done. And she goes, okay, we're meeting in 2 weeks. We're having our board meeting in 2 weeks. And I go, so she goes, we need your proposal. And I said, oh, in 2 weeks? And she goes, yes. And so I wrote this like 7 or 8 page proposal. And they agreed to everything I said, because I didn't want them to buy fabric or anything else. I wanted them to provide postage and shipping, packaging, and all that stuff. They agreed to everything. And we started just a few weeks later. And so that first event, about 18 ladies showed up. Not about 18, it was 18 ladies that showed up. And we sewed and we laughed and we talked. And some of them didn't know how to sew. Mm-hmm. They knew how to use the machine, but they had never really made a garment. So we went through all that. And over time, we had some interesting things happen. We had a lady came who had only ever sewn by hand, but had never made a garment. So she sat there that night and she made dress from start to finish by hand. She was 90 years old. It was pretty awesome. Pretty special dress. And then I had another lady who unfortunately just passed recently, but she uh, got into the habit and loved making pockets for the dresses.
Okay.
You're allowed to make pockets, but they can't really be usable pockets. So you make them a little small. Um, no hidden pockets, just front pockets. And she started doing that. And then she discovered that she could also put buttons and bows on them as long as they weren't usable things, just little decorations. So she truly loved decorating the dresses. In fact, we showed two of her dresses at her homegoing service that she had made with the pockets on them. So cute and such a sweet lady. But I watched her and a couple others, but her specifically go from I can't do this to oh look what I did over time. She would bring me dresses on Sunday to show me what she did. And I'd give her a little critique or not if it didn't need it. And then from there, she started the pockets and the bows and the buttons and all these decorative things on these dresses. So what I like about the organization is that they just need dresses. They need other things too. But they just need dresses. They need shorts and shirts for the boys, and they need, school supplies and all these other things, and wells and for clean water. That clean water is one of the reasons I like this organization. But they aren't keen on saying you can't use this printer, you can't use that printer, you can't use that print. It makes it easier when people want to donate fabric. I can't use that fabric, but I can use that print. So we stick with cottons, 100% cotton and cotton blends is what we ask for in donations. And sometimes I get things that I can't use. I either give them back or donate them somewhere else. I don't stockpile. I don't stockpile stuff we can't use. But we've only ever we purchased safety pins because we started making pads for the girls, and they're washable. So each pad needs two large safety pins. So we purchased those. We've never had to purchase any fabric or any thread or anything. We purchased binding in the beginning, and then a lady walked in with 4 giant rolls of binding. They were kind of new pinks and yellows and neutral colors. And so we haven't had to purchase that in several years because we still have this binding. But it's really a pretty amazing ministry. And she, meaning the owner of this organization, she just makes it easy. You just ship it to Michigan, and then she ships it out to Africa, not individually. They'll pack a container, the huge containers that you see on railroads. They'll pack that, and then everything goes at once. But they also have missionaries who are coming through, who are on their way to Africa, and they'll call ahead and say, I need 6 large or 5 mediums or 3 large or 3 small dresses or whatever they need. And they'll pack that up and give it to them, and they can take with them. But the larger deliveries or larger shipments goes on these containers, and it goes. And usually she will go to Africa to meet that container, and then she'll stay there and then post other pictures of it. So her website is, or the website is littledressesforafrica.org.
Okay.
And if you look on there, you'll see some of the pictures. And it's the same name for the YouTube channel. I'm sorry, not YouTube channel, the Facebook page. So you can see pictures. So, and some of my ladies in the group are older ladies. Some are older. They're not all older, but they don't have Facebook. They're not on Facebook. So I'll clip a couple of those pictures and send them to them like once a month. I'll send something out and say, okay, we're meeting this month, and here's some more pictures. So we've spotted a couple of times. We spotted our dresses, but not always. It's so many dresses that are donated from around the world that it's hard to spot your dress. We've seen one of the lady who made the pockets. We spotted one of hers once, and we were all excited about that dress. We knew it was her dress. But so we've changed that. That's changed a little bit. Speaking of that, she, her name is Rachel, who leads this organization. Rachel went to Africa earlier in the year, I think like the first quarter of the year, and she took another lady with her who had never been there. And so sometimes you need that other set of eyes because you've seen the same things for years. Yeah. And that lady pointed out that the kids are outside all the time. They go to class outside. They play outside. They go to church outside. They do everything outside. And their shoulders were starting to burn or were burning. Yeah. And so that evolved into, okay, we're not going to make any more of I won't say anymore. We prefer that you switch to t-shirt dresses. And I did have a lady who doesn't sew, but she would come and cut fabric for us and donate stuff to us all the time. And so she came in before that with a few t-shirts. And I thought, oh, but they were like girl colors, like pinks
Mm-hmm.
and so I didn't want to ship them for the boys, so I just kind of held on to them. And then this came up, and I go, there we go. We've got fabric, we've got t-shirts, and we started making these t-shirt dresses, which are so much faster to make. But it serves a good purpose because if you look at some of the pictures now on Facebook, you'll see where the girls on the older pictures, you'll see shoulders out with these little straps from the pillowcase dresses. To now, you'll see t-shirts under those dresses, or you'll
Oh.
see the t-shirt dresses. So either way, they're protected now. It was just something she had never noticed all those years. And
Mm.
so as soon as she did, shifted gears. So I told her, I said, I probably have a good 30 dresses left of the pillowcase dresses. So we'll get those done. We don't meet again. My group doesn't meet again until January. So I will probably bring those home and get those done
Yeah.
just to be done with them. And then we'll just continue. I said, we'll start the t-shirt dresses, but we'll filter in some of the pillowcase dresses just to keep them moving because we'd already cut them out.
Right.
But yeah, it's exciting stuff.
That's good.
It's
That's
really
good
good
that
stuff.
you've made that change so that there's more
Hmm.
protection for the girls from the sun, which
Yes.
is their everyday lives.
And
Yeah.
then making the pads, if the girls don't have pads, they don't go to school. And I think a lot of people know that, but my group didn't know that. So they were
Mm.
quite affected by that information. And they
Yeah.
started making pads. So our first shipment of pads we sent out was 200. So they
That's a
made
lot.
200 pads in about a month and a half or so. They
Hmm.
made 200 pads, just two ladies working on them. So what I did was I was going to, because I kept looking at, it was just the two ladies working on them.
Yep.
And I had really given them the instructions. They found the instructions on the site and it had changed over time because it was quite complicated before and
Mm.
they had simplified it. So they started just making them. And I just kind of wasn't paying a lot of attention to them. And then one day I looked at them and they were kind of like flippy floppy, like the cuts weren't clean anymore.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
asked them what were they using. They were using a piece of cardboard. And so the cardboard was wearing down with the cuts over time. And so I was at the office at church and I was looking online and this guy who owns a print company, who's our pastor now, who owns a print company walked by and I said, can I use this? Can I cut this? And he goes, you know what? That might be fun on your home cutter, but it might be better to have me cut you a nice piece of acrylic. So he
Mm.
actually made the templates. I have one here.
Yep.
I thought I had one right there, but I don't. But he made acrylic templates, which are probably an eighth of an inch thick. So we get a really nice cut. And he even asked when I gave him this little piece of cardboard, he goes, do you want it like this or you wouldn't need me to straighten those lines up? I said, straighten the lines up. So he cut the interior pattern, which is
Mm.
the flannel, not the
Yep.
flannel, the batting. And then he cut the exterior, which is the flannel. So we have some really nice templates. I've actually been able to share them with another group. Actually, I'm waiting for him to cut more that I can share with another group. There's another group from Facebook
Yep.
that has started their own ministry based off of my ministry. And so I think they meet once a
That's
week. We meet once a month. But yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
that's good. Your leadership is
It
just
is.
spreading to other ministries.
I don't
That's
know if it's
good.
leadership, but she was inspired. She was definitely inspired. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, she was meeting once a week, and her ladies got so excited they want to meet twice a week. And they were meeting in her house. She goes, yeah, we can't do that.
Mm. Mm.
So they just stick
Yeah.
to the once a week.
Yeah.
But in my church, I really I don't have access to space to meet more often.
Mm.
So once a month, and it works. And
Yeah.
then we
Good.
back out in November and December for holidays, and then we come back in January. So
Yeah.
the funny thing is, when we first started, the very first month we started, we had an older lady there, and that October she said, "This is our last meeting," and I said, "Wait, who said that?" And she goes, "Oh, I thought you were just going to do this until today." And I said, "Oh no, we're going to do this forever, as long as I have space here at the church." So now the week that I have is the fourth Tuesday. It's
Hmm.
now considered protected space. So nothing will overlap. Because I got shifted several times and I finally said, okay, can I have the fourth Tuesday and just
Yeah.
leave it there? And so, I don't know, conversation came up a few weeks ago and she goes, oh no, those days are not protected. So nothing will ever overlap and I'll have to shift again, which is awesome.
Well
Little things
done.
behind the scenes that you don't see. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And so at the time and now you're still doing the food pantry work every week as well.
Yeah. That's something else I'll be doing as long as I physically can do it. I don't do a lot of physical. I actually had rotator cuff surgery. This one
Mm.
got a
Hmm.
tiny little nerve pain there just now. I had rotator cuff surgery 13 months ago, so a
Yeah.
year ago. And then he didn't even release me to go back to the food pantry for 5 weeks. And he didn't release me back to sewing for 3 weeks. But the sewing is because I pushed it. Please,
Mm.
please, please, he let me back. Yeah, so for me, the food pantry is a difference between, and there's several differences, but the main one for me is the difference between obviously a child not eating. Uh, but the other thing is that senior citizens don't have to choose between medication or food.
Hmm.
They can get their medication and get the food
Yeah.
from us, and it's not always enough. Um, Sometimes our boxes are overflowing. They were overflowing for Thanksgiving. I mean, they were really overflowing for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's
So much
good.
so that we were just giving people 2 boxes of food versus 1 box of food. And then other times the boxes has been like half full. And then the volunteers kind of fret over that. And I keep telling them, don't fret over that because they come every single week. So whatever they didn't get this week, they may have gotten last week. So
Hmm.
they will always be fine because we will always be fine because God sees this. And I started saying that God sees right from not from the beginning, from when we
Hmm.
switched after COVID, we switched to drive-through service. So you come up, you open your trunk, and we put the boxes in the car for you. Before that, they could come in and select what they wanted, pack their own bags or boxes or whatever they brought, and have coffee and cake and leave. And now they just pull up and um, we put the stuff in the car for them. But once we started that, we didn't know how many boxes to pack because we had never packed boxes before. They had always come in and selected their own food.
Hmm.
And so we packed the boxes that we had. The first week we had 58 empty boxes. So that's what we packed. And 58 cars pulled up. The next week we had 46 boxes and 46 cars pulled up. And then that third week was when we had 108, I believe, or 103 cars pulled up. So we've
Wow.
never had food left over. We've
Hmm.
never had waste. We've never had to throw out anything. I mean, we check the dates on things and some of that gets thrown out before we get that far. We've never not had enough and we've never had too much,
Yep.
ever, ever. We have a second pantry that goes in the evening to a different location that's kind of in a food desert area. And they're from our school that we support, one of the elementary schools that we support close to the church. So we go there as what we call our second pantry, and we pack a specific number of boxes from them. So we pack about 40, 42, 45 boxes for them every week.
Right.
And that goes on that trailer before the cars start pulling up. And then if we have something left over from the cars, from the car line, then the rest of that goes on the trailer. Well, last week we had a pretty large amount of those boxes that went on the trailer. Sure enough, that evening we get a text from the pastor that went out there, and she said, every box was taken.
Mm.
Nothing was left. No one came later looking for food. So they got probably a good 20 boxes more than they would have gotten, and they still went. So it's pretty awesome. So
Yeah.
I just said, see, God sees.
Yeah.
He knew he knew who was gonna be there. We have no way of knowing how many cars they're gonna get every week. We just have no way of knowing. So
That's
it's really good work.
very
It's
satisfying.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our volunteers, they come every week, every week. They just keep coming for
Mm.
years. They just keep coming. We get some new people that'll come that may stay. We got a young guy that came and um, he came for a couple of weeks and I'm not even sure how he got to us. He's now a member of the church, but he wasn't at the time. But he came and then he had a job. And so he went back to work and went back to school. But he'll show up when there's no school. He's in his 20s. He'll show up when there's no school. He'll show up for his summer breaks.
Mm.
He just shows up. And then he'll say, okay, I'll be here for 3 weeks or I'll be here for 4 weeks or whatever. And he just keeps coming. That's one of our really good kind of stories. I have a young man now that's there, and he's been there this was his second week. He actually said, "You're actually coming on Thanksgiving?" And he goes, "Yes," because we say every Thursday. So this year, 4th of July was a Thursday. And Thanksgiving obviously is a Thursday, but we're there every single Thursday. We get calls, "Are you going to be there?" It's Thursday. We'll be there.
Yeah, good.
So it's good. It's good.
This episode of Soul Over 50 podcast on Soul Organized Style was produced by me, Maria Thea Harris, with permission of Carrie, sound by bensound.com. Many thanks for the ongoing support of this podcast Patreon contributors. Their ongoing support enables me to develop these podcasts for free, both audio and video. Make sure you direct message Sandy and the editors at the Soul Over 50 account on Instagram to contribute to their ongoing posts and challenges that the team promotes to the sewing community of over 50,000 followers. You can subscribe to Soul Organized Style podcast spelled with an S, not a Z, on all good podcast apps. Make sure you go back and listen to our free Soul Over 50 archive on Soul Organized Style podcast. We look forward to joining you in your sewing room next time. Stay safe, everyone.